Welcome to Clinical Edge, the podcast where we explore the innovations, technologies, and entrepreneurial journeys shaping the future in healthcare and medical technology. I'm your host, Anirudh Masurkar. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Bill Bue, a healthcare innovator and industry veteran with more than 46 years of experience in the orthopedic sports medicine industry. Bill, welcome to Clinical Edge. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to the conversation, and hopefully I can provide some information that benefits others.
Of course, Bill, thank you. And to start off, can you just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got into the orthopedic sports medicine industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Back in 1978, I got a call from my mother, who was an entrepreneur
Okay.
and had been applying compression products to her quarter horses. And an orthopedist who was using those compression products on his quarter horse said, "Why don't we make the same material for my orthopedic patients?" She called me and said, "Hey, there's a thing called sports medicine that's out there.
Okay.
And how would you like to be my partner, come up with some designs, and see if we can't sell these products?" So that's exactly how I got into sports medicine in 1978.
So what was the awareness level of sports medicine? I think in the days of Magic Johnson or before that, I would say, was it?
Yeah, magic was probably in kindergarten. But there were many athletes in need of care in the orthopedic physical therapy space for a long time. To follow a little bit more on my initial experiences in sports medicine, there was very few companies that were applying to patients and athletes at that time. I was living in Tempe, Arizona, and ended up knocking on one. There was only one orthopedist in all of Phoenix that was had sports medicine on his door. And I called on that individual. Then I found out where I'd grown up in Los Angeles, there were actually three guys with sports medicine on their door. So I said, I'm driving to LA because I've got a bigger opportunity there. I ended up driving 9 states by car
Wow.
over the next 3, 4 years, developing a route where I was making some 16 calls a day, driving 75,000 miles a year. It took me 8 weeks to get back home.
Wow.
So that was the beginning of my career. And while I was traveling the West, I would bring my skis, fly fishing gear, or golf clubs with me. So on the weekends and sometimes in the evenings, I could also take advantage of the locations around the Western United States.
Wow. That's pretty inspiring and something that I would like to do, like traveling for 8 weeks on the road in the US. Before we talk about your topical gear journey, I would like to first understand from you the importance of neuromuscular wearables and what ages should be wearing, people of what age should be wearing it, and how aware are people about that particular segment, especially while working out or any other motion exercises.
Yeah, maybe an easy way to explain it is being a Christian, a believer. When we're born, the Lord gives us mind to muscle communication. We're 22 inches long and maybe weigh 8 pounds.
Yeah.
When we learn to walk at 1, that mind muscle communication works. At 3, when we learn to ride a bike, still works just fine. At 7, when we go to learn to kick a soccer ball, that communication still works. But published research tells us as our extremities lengthen, as our weight goes from 8 pounds to 128 pounds, and we start putting much more dynamic loads on our limbs, we get injured because that mind to muscle communication is no longer sufficient to create and control our movement. From that point, once we get injured, atrophy sets in, which means the mind to muscle communication we were given at birth, which isn't sufficient at 13, is compromised even more. And we continue to go through physical therapy, surgeries, coaches take us into weight training programs, they give us drills, but the whole time that's occurring, our mind to muscle communication is not sufficient to continue to perform as we get older, we grow even longer, we gain more weight, we have even more dynamic loads put on our body. So as this occurs and we get to midlife, we're coping with ankle, knee, elbow injuries. And if it's a knee, which is often the case, we end up picking up a cane, then a walker, then we go into a wheelchair, we experience isolation, mental degradation, and we die. That's the process that we go through in our healthcare system today. And to answer your question, when we have wearables, T25 wearables, that immediately start to reconnect and then speed up communication from the mind to the specific muscles the Lord gave us to create and control movement, we can actually enhance our movement. So that's what's happening today. Our wearables are changing the way 13-year-old female athletes or 88-year-old men with 2 total knees are being cared for when a customer of ours.
So at what age should people ideally start wearing, do you think?
Yeah, it depends on the individual. Some kids grow faster, and so they put larger loads on their limbs. They are expected to perform better by their parents, by their coaches, by their teammates. So it's very possible by 11 or 12, those individuals should start enhancing their communication. Normally, I would say the average athlete, female or male, by 13 needs to start speeding up the mind to muscle communication. Published research by independent biomechanists show that we can enhance their speed, their vertical, their endurance, and dramatically reduce risk, specifically of ACL tears.
And that leads me to the next question, that what inspired you to start Topical Gear, what it's offering? I read about your daughter's story on your website who was playing volleyball. So was that the main inspiration, or you always wanted to do this? And then how's been your journey so far since you've started it?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. We didn't go over my whole career. After my mom and I were partners, the president of Donjoy cornered me and said, "Hey, we're coming out with a new knee brace. Why don't you join us?" I did decide to set up sales and marketing nationally for Donjoy. As that was occurring, I ran into a very famous orthopedic surgeon, Dr. John Fagan, who I met with in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where he practiced at the time. We got to talking. He found out I knew published research on my product. And a few months later, he sent me a letter to be the first entrepreneur to ever exhibit, speak, and become a member of the ACL study group. That particular group was made up of biomechanists and orthopedists who were leaders in the industry. And the main topic was prevention, surgical repair, and restoration of movement of youth female athletes. So that's really where my knowledge interest began. We sold Donjoy. We started a new company called Breg. And during the time that we were building a product line, setting up distribution, the most famous biomechanist in the country, Tim Hewitt, had he and a partner had put out published research talking about restoration of youth female athletes post ACL reconstruction. And he said braces are good temporarily to protect the procedure that was done. But if you want to restore functional movement of these youth female athletes, you have to enhance proprioception and neuromuscular communication, mind to muscle communication. So I kept that in the back of my mind. We continued to build Breg. We sold Breg. As I was taking some time off after 27 years of running pretty hard in Steamboat, I was fly fishing, skiing, playing golf, doing some bird hunting. The only child left in our family, as you mentioned, was my daughter. She happened to be playing volleyball with what became the best group of youth female volleyball players in the country.
Oh,
And during that period of time, all the coaches, orthopedic surgeons, athletic trainers were telling youth and collegiate female volleyball players to wear ankle braces. And their ankles were, they were getting injured often. The basis of that patent was issued in the 1890s for immobilization.
my God.
Then I took a look at the lace-up ankle brace, 1901. So I realized the reason that my daughter had torn up her ankles twice, the left and right ankles, going into at the end of her sophomore year, going into her junior year. So I said, okay, I'm getting tired of being up here in Steamboat. Time to go back to work. So I read some 7 published research papers on the foot ankle. And when I sat down the last research article, it occurred to me that the mind to muscle communication was too slow. We needed to speed it up. So that was the essence of when we started Topical Gear. That was the goal: speed up proprioception and neuromuscular communication. Then I realized I needed to find somebody smarter than me to tell me how to do that. So I happened to be at Tulane University with Andy Massey, who was the head athletic trainer there, told him the story. And he said, Bill, I was the head trainer of the athletic training program for Appalachian State for 16 years. And probably the smartest person I ever graduated was Betsy Russell. And she lives in the same town you do.
Right.
So I asked for her phone number. He gave it to me. I got to Betsy, told her the story. And she said, oh, that's pretty easy. If you apply topical pressure, 25 mmHg, to the perineals as they come down posterior to the lateral malleolus or ankle bone, and to tibialis on the medial side, I'm sorry, tibialis posterior on the medial side, and the perineals on the lateral side, you'll get and keep ankles healthy. So I had a group called Top Shelf Orthopedics, who I knew very well, make me a prototype. And after my daughter had torn up her ankles twice with the right ankle, I put that prototype on. I kept the ankle brace on her left ankle, and she played 55 games comparing the two. At the end of that period of time, I asked her, can you tell me anything? Have you got any feedback? And she thought for a second. She said, yes, I caught myself twice wearing this. In other words, the proprioception and neuromuscular communication has sped up so much that she was able to get out of an awkward position before she re-injured herself again. Then I had Top Shelf start designing product. We went to the youth female volleyball market January 7th of 2011. And by November of the same year,
Mm.
the head athletic trainer for Penn State University's men's and women's volleyball program sent a SIMS report, which is an injury report, to
Yeah.
the NCAA saying that our product shows signs of preventing ankle injuries, and we were in business.
Nice. Bill, another thing I want to ask is what do you think are the unmet needs that topical gear is addressing currently? And what are the challenges that you see in conveying those unmet needs and connecting the dots with the end users? Is it the lack of awareness or something like that? But yeah.
Yeah, education and awareness. There are very few. This is a subject. Movement isn't something that people really know much about. They think they do, but if you don't understand neuromuscular communication, proprioception, as Tim Hewitt pointed out, and that the communication we were given at birth, it's installed. That's great. But you can't expect it to continue to enhance performance and reduce risk of injury or restore movement post-injury or post-op. It actually goes the other way if you don't fine tune it. So it's a system just like anything else we have in our body. You have to treat your lungs, you have to treat your heart properly, you have to do the things that continue to allow us to have them functioning. Same thing's true with your neuromuscular, your nervous system. And we're in the process, we've been in the process of explaining this. It is so foreign to people because they aren't educated on it that most people, it doesn't matter what product you bring out, most wait for the top 1% to respond, find success, tell everybody about it, and then they'll do it. And that was exactly what we experienced when we went into volleyball. The very top of collegiate volleyball,
Yeah.
Penn State, their head athletic trainer, their team physician was very instrumental in getting us in there. Our Penn State had won more NCAA national championships in women's volleyball than anybody. Why? Because they're willing to process what's next. Same thing occurred when I met John Dunning, who was the Stanford head
Mhm.
volleyball coach. And he said, a couple of the words you used are the words that my athletic trainers talk about. They want to talk to you. And so those people that are winning the games, there's no accident. They are the leaders, and eventually everybody else follows. So from our side, to educate and create awareness, it costs money, it requires talent and time. And my wife and I have put a tremendous amount of time and money into this. And I have raised some money, but it's still not enough.
Is it easy to like,
Uh,
yeah, I wanted to touch base on that also. For any entrepreneurs getting into this business, like how easy is it to raise money, or do you need, what are the key things that like VCs or investors look for?
yeah, that's a tough question to answer because number one, it depends on your contacts. Who do you know? Yeah, that's number one. And number two, anybody that wants to get into the industry, whether it's this industry or any other, they have to be willing to drive 75,000 miles a year, like I did in the 70s and 80s. There was no phones.
Hmm.
There was nothing but a phone booth. And I had to find all of those orthopedic offices throughout the West, but willing to do it with Topical Gear.
Yeah.
I've worked 15 years with almost no pay, but I
Oh,
know what, yeah, no income, plus investing in it.
15
And you
years?
have to be, uh,
Okay.
but I know what we have. This is providing societal impact and reducing the odds of individuals as they get injured, as they have surgeries, eventually becoming crippled.
Yeah, I think what I see, what is driving you and sustain you for the 15 years is, one is your belief in the product, and secondly, your commitment to the mission, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we have to move along as a society. And when you talk about the things that are most important to your health from birth to
Yeah.
90, you can talk about nutrition, you can talk about sleep, you can talk about hydration, but we need to better understand movement. And we understand more than most, but we certainly, there's a lot more to learn. I can
Absolutely.
guarantee that.
Yeah.
So we need to take this step before we can see what else is possible to enhance human movement.
Bill, talking about your go-to market strategy for topical gear, how do you approach clients or end users? Do you directly sell it, or how are you promoting it and selling it? Like,
Yeah. me answer that by, first of all, discussing a product that we've got in development today. I have, I'll say, attracted some 21 medical and sport professionals that are forward acting. There's a lot of people that are forward thinking. Do you act on it? We act on it. We get together monthly in a group I call We Dig Movement. And one of them is a brilliant biomechanist who not only has done a lot of research. Mike Decker, he came from the Stedman Hawkins Clinic in Vail, very famous clinic. Publishing research is one thing. Taking that published research and turning it into something of value to a significant segment of the population is the ultimate. And Mike has been in pursuit of that for some time. Fortunately, I grabbed him in 2013, brought him in as a part of our group. As we have continued to grow within Topical Gear, he built out a golf analysis for golf tech that became so valuable, they put it in all their retail locations, and CPS even came to Golf Tech and asked to use it during the Masters. It was so successful that Golf Tech asked him to put a app together for you and I. If we went out to the golf course and we're playing, and I wasn't hitting my wedges as close as I wanted to, I'd have you video me. Then in the 19th hole, we'd take a look at it and study it, see if I can make an adjustment and start hitting my shots closer. And what he did was make a deal with them. That app technology could be used in any other market besides golf. And then Topical Gear has brought it inside a Topical Gear to provide a way for either physicians or coaches to initially assess alignment, a skeletal image, see a skeletal image of a patient that gives them a lot more information than they ever had before on a first and follow-up visits. It goes into medical records, etc. Or if you're an athletic trainer, team physician, or a coach that's doing preseason physicals for a football team, it usually takes 4 days to process a football team through standard stationary motion analysis systems at someplace around 125, 150,000, I think, cost for the product, then significant amount of money for the individual running the motion analysis system, where we can do it in a little over an hour with 4 different coaches holding up an app, lining up 22 players in 4 different lines at a significant reduction in cost. And so everybody can, there's a lot of people who can assess functional movement, and they say, hey, yeah, those 6 players are at risk of injury, but none of them can address it. Meaning, from there, once we assess an instability, we can address it with T25 wearables by firing the specific muscles that have been on vacation via atrophy, speed up mind-to-muscle communication, and get their movement restored, get them out of pain into preseason training. So that's what we need to do first. I call those our twin technologies that assess and address human movement. And from there, once we raise some money, so any investors out there listening, please call. I have people lined up for Amazon where we currently have product.
Okay.
And there's something like $12 million worth of knee braces sold a month on Amazon, 12,
Is
14
it
million.
available on Amazon now, right now?
Yes, it's
Okay.
available on
Are
Amazon right now. Thanks.
are you only selling it directly to the end users or patients, or you're also selling it to institutions or?
Thank you for that. We actually have two lead physicians, Dr. Vince McInerney, who had been the team physician for Seton Hall forever. His patients were a part of our telemovement program that we established, and we processed some 1,400 patients through him. X% of those actually during COVID, where we did a study on 107 of them, whose mean return to activity or sport with no physician offices were closed, obviously during COVID. PT were closed, imaging was closed. Return to activity or sport in a mean of 40 days. So restoring movement in place with a $110 pair of T25 knees. The other gentleman is Dr. Brian Cole out of Rush Memorial, a very well respected, noted arthroscopist who has been applying many hundreds of T25 knees on his ACL reconstructions post-op. And those are the two primary pilot orthopedic programs that we have. Our goal is to get into neurology, biologics. Chiropractors understand what I'm explaining here. And obviously, then also physical therapy. So those would be our B directions. Our B2C is going direct through social platforms to boomers and seniors whose muscles have been going on vacation. I think science shows someplace between 32, 35, and 40, we start the first level of, I'll say, functional muscle decay. And then all the injuries on top of it just
Got it.
the communication that is needed to stay healthy, really, and have a lifestyle that allows you to play with your grandchildren.
Obviously. And finally, Bill, I would just like to end the call by asking you one question. How does your day generally look like? Are you into physical activities, or how do you go about a regular day in Bill's
Yeah,
life?
yeah. I was fortunate the Lord gave me ability to pick up things, balls, bats, see some clubs here, etc., fly rods, shotguns, skis, etc. Although I don't do that much anymore, and I've really dedicated, as you can tell, my money in the last 15 years to human movement, I still do a set of resistance exercises every night in front of the TV, every night, 5 weeks a night. And because I don't get on streams or fields or golf courses or mountains as much anymore, I walk. And probably 5 days a week, I also walk early in the morning. And that combination allows me to take advantage of the time that I do have, specifically in rivers these days, to fly fish around the West.
All right, Bill. Bill, thank you. This was a fantastic conversation and really enjoyed listening to you. Thank you for sharing your insights and experiences, and all the best for Topical Gear.
Yeah, thank you. It's fun to reminisce. It's also fun to express what we're doing today. It's a labor of love.
Thank you. Thank you.